Well, our speaker today, Eric Hellman, is a change coach and communications consultant. His passion is sharing his vision of what is spiritually possible while connecting it to our human challenges and what we can do practically to create results in our own lives and for those around us. Eric loves cats and has a passion for ice cream. He once chewed so much bubblegum at a baseball game that he had to see a doctor the next day for his sore jaw. I hope that didn't last too long, Eric. And our musician today, Nathen Aswell, is a recording artist and a speaker based in Vancouver. And Nathen believes that his calling in this life is to encourage people to live big lives, one small step at a time, through his heart-centered music making and his engaging talks and his warm-hearted listening. His CDs, Little by Little and Yes, are celebrations of life, transformation, evolution, and the oneness of humanity, delivered in a variety of popular music styles. Back in September and October of 2019, Nathen walked the Camino de Santiago, a 500-mile, 800-kilometer pilgrimage across Spain, and he is currently writing a book about this experience. But now we're going to hear some beautiful music from Nathen, and as we prepare for Eric's meditation and his message, Nathen is going to gift us with his song, Love and Be Loved. Over to you, Nathen.
Thank you, Pixie. Being deeply loved gives you strength
beautiful. That was exquisite, Nathen. Thank you so much for that.
My great pleasure, my brother.
Oh, so good morning and welcome to everyone. And let us gently enter a time of meditation. And we'll begin with another one of Nathen's originals called Love Is My Name.
Love is my true identity. Selflessness, my true self. Love is my true character. Love is my name. Love is my true identity. Selflessness, my true self. Love is my true character. Love is my name. Love is my true identity. Selflessness, my true self. Love is my true character. Love is my name.
So as you reflect on those words of Nathan's, and as you hear the gentle strains of his music, begin to let them take you within. Let it be a gentle path of just beginning to shift from the outer to the inner. As you take a breath, begin to feel the rippling in your body. Perhaps you feel a tingling in your hands or your feet, or the pulsation of your heart. As you go still more inside, begin to be aware of the gentleness of your breath, the warmth in your nostrils, or the energy filling your body. Begin to feel yourself relaxing into your chair, wherever you're sitting or lying. Letting each breath, each feeling, each thought or sound take you deeper. One more time, take another gentle breath. Now begin to feel yourself relaxing in your head, your face, your eyes, your cheeks, your mouth. Your neck, your shoulders, your arms. Feel it beginning to unlock your torso and your back. Feel the energy running down your spine, through your belly and your hips, down into the chair. Unwinding still into your legs, upper legs, knees, calves and shins, ankles and feet, and the energy down into the floor. Did you realize, or when have you realized, that you are at the core a divine being? If we really knew that and could feel that, and the love that goes with that, what would it mean for how we live our lives? What if we were to see with the eyes of the Christ, the true spiritual mind and self? What if that energy were to run through us each day in the things we choose to do and the ways that we treat each other and ourselves and the world, our planet? What if we really knew that love, underneath everything else, is who and what we truly are, and began to experience that in our daily living? I invite you to take another breath and gently contemplate those thoughts, those possibilities, as we take some time in silence. Now, as you hear my voice again, Nathen's soft music, begin to come back into the room. Awareness of your body, the world around you. Perhaps you may want to take a breath and begin to let your eyes gently open and flicker Maybe you want to move your body by moving your hands or your feet or your shoulders back. Begin to feel yourself grounding into your chair or bed, whatever you're sitting or lying on. Open your eyes more. And as you come back into the room and into this service, the awareness of the screen, if you're seeing the computer or listening on a phone, sounds, you feel yourself integrated, connected. Your outer self and your inner self meeting, joining in one place called now, here, being present, clear and yet still, and feeling the flickers of joy and love within rising to express themselves from your face and your body and your being. And send that love out to the people in this congregation. And to our world. And welcome back. Thank you, Brother Nathen. Ooh, and take one more stretch of your body so that you remember that whatever happens here this morning, whatever you hear, whatever you think, you are the center of things. You hold dominion over your thoughts and feelings. And we'll begin to explore that in today's service, which I've called Reflections on Love. So this morning, as I contemplated and listened inside about what today is about, I felt prompted by spirit, by intuition, by love to do something a little different. What I sensed was to go a little deeper in today's service. So what came to me was first that rather than trying to understand love intellectually or by talking about ideas or on a PowerPoint, that I wanted to make it more about sharing in the moment from the deeper state within. I also sensed that rather than just using my voice, I wanted to invite my brother of the heart, Nathen, in as well. Because Nathen knows love from a deep place too, in relationship, in his music, in his growth as a human being that I've watched over the last 15 years or more. So, and if the truth were told, if we were in person, I'd love to hear Nathen's voice and all of yours, because it's not just one voice that knows the tune of love, it's all of us. But since we can't do that easily on Zoom, it comes to Nathen and myself to do that this morning. So this morning, I'm going to invite you and Nathen and myself to consider 5 questions. I'll introduce each one and invite you into it. Nathen and I will share our reflections on the questions. And as we do so, what I'd like to do is have you reflect on your own experiences and insights as well, so that this becomes a shared container, cauldron of reflection on this magnificent and often challenging subject. You see, what I've come to realize is that what we say in a service like this might last 20 minutes or so. But what speaks inside of each of you could last for days or weeks, or maybe even for a lifetime. And that's what's most important to me, and ultimately will mean the most to you, I think. So let's begin. Ready, Brother Nathen?
Absolutely, Brother Eric.
The first reflection, question number 1. What is love to you? So I invite you to take a breath and just let that question in. What is love to me? And just let your mind open. Go as small or as large as you want to. Just open yourself up and see, what is love to me? Notice what words begin to come up as you think about love. Maybe it's something like awe or wonder or beauty. Look, if you can, the picture behind Nathen, that beautiful reflection. Maybe love brings up peace or tranquility or connection or harmony. Whatever it is fine. Notice what feelings begin to come up inside your body and your emotional self. And what images begin to pop to mind as well. You're opening yourself to the idea of love. And as I invite you to do that, let me do that for myself. So let me step out of speaker for a moment into reflector as I begin. So what is love? Well, interesting. As I tune inside, I see fireworks going off. I love fireworks. I live in a 26-story building, and I get to see when the West End fireworks in English Bay are going. I get to see them from the top of my building or go down to the English Bay. But for me, love is kind of like a popping of an energy inside, of opening, a delight and light. I begin to see images of things I've done in my life. It chokes me up from mathematics, which some of you might find a little strange. I used to love math. I used to love sports. I would go out every day after school and play any sport that I could. Loving two wives and other women in my life. I've been deeply graced with that. Love of nature. For me, love is, it's like a current and a presence that opens me up and brings a sweetness to my sense of being and taste. Well, that's a little bit of me. How about you, Nathen?
I have 3 things to offer, Brother Eric. On a large, thinking large, going as large as I possibly can, I firmly believe that love is everything. It is our work on this plane. We are here to love. That's the whole enchilada. That's the whole ball of wax. If we were to leave right now, everything that I say after this will be subservient to that. Love is all there is. Love is everything. On a small scale, I think of how much joy it gives me to express love in very small ways. So I think about how my beloved wife, Kim, loves to feel my hand on the bottom of her back as we watch television. And in between, in fact, I just experienced it a couple of minutes ago as you were speaking. Love for me is a warmth, is an expansion in my heart that quickly moves up to me wanting to cry, tears wanting to flow. So those are 3 images to share.
Beautiful. Oh, and I love the bread. Thank you so much for that. So now I turn it over to each of you listening or watching. What is love to you? What is love to you? Now I invite you to take a breath, consider it, and then also send that thought out, because we're going to take it deeper. So with our next reflection, I love the images that are available to us of the planet and people, reflections in life. The second question is, how have you experienced love in your life? Now I'm speaking to each of you listening or watching. How have you experienced love in your life? Think of a time when you were loved. It might be the relationship with a male or female, maybe a relationship with a pet, a child. Think of a time when you experienced love through relationships. And what about experiencing love through activities or work that you've loved in your life? Perhaps it was gardening or music or something very different, some kind of loving work that you brought out into the world. Think about how you might have experienced love in personal experiences, such as being in nature, or in a very different way, waking up from a dream where you felt love. And what about spiritual experiences? And here I mean anything in an expanded or deepened way. Perhaps the memory of being touched by God, presence of angels, an inner voice, or expanded experience in nature. How have you experienced love in your life? And so I turn to Nathen for his response this time first.
First thing that comes to my mind, of course, is the relationships, all relationships, starting, of course, with our family relationships, that kind of love. And I was raised Roman Catholic, so as I was pondering this question, I thought about the word duty, doing the right thing, that kind of love, seeing love as a responsibility, as a certain way of behaving initially. And then, of course, we get older, and so we reach out, we start to have relationships with friends, and then love means other things. Love means mutual trust and enjoyment of shared experiences, which then led me to my identity as an artist and how I experienced love both in the creation and performance of music and the incredible joy and love that I experience in sharing that experience with other musicians. There's nothing like creating music with someone else. It's heaven on earth for me. And lastly, lastly, because I think they're two facets of the same thing. Love of God, love with God, with source, higher source, whatever word most resonates with people, which most especially I experience in nature. I've had so many experiences of being in nature and feeling that incredible power of silence and majesty. Just surrendering to that. There are no words to just drink that in, to receive and experience and appreciate that love.
I don't know if anybody else feels this, but I'm feeling as I listen to your words as though it's like an energy or a pulsation coming out. I can feel it pulsating through me and enlivening, pulsating me. And I think this is part of the power of sharing from these places, is that it's not just about us, it's about this shared place inside, this energy that is an experience of love. So yeah, thank you for that. Experiences of love in addition to that one. I remember, and I've talked about this in previous Unity services, of standing on a beach, Lake Huron, place called Providence Bay, back before I was about to enter university, where I had a oneness experience in nature where I felt connected to the water and the light. Everything around me, I felt I was part of it. And then had an inner voice experience of what I've now come to call spirit, asking me, inviting me to do something to help it. to help nature. That in that moment of love, of connection, I knew I needed to enter environmental work. And I didn't see it as a duty, but I get the connotation of duty in the sense of I was given a gift and a responsibility to go out and do something. And so I very much resonate with what you were saying, Nathen, and how much I loved the work that came out of that, of talking to people about the power of our choices, about how we treat our lives, our world, waste, and helped me to enter the recycling field. And the power that we have to transform our world by transforming our choices. Experiences of love, deep love in relationship. How powerful a deeply loving marriage relationship can be when it's about a shared connection that I remember experiencing in my second marriage. A woman by the name of Pearl. And just the harmony and the co-creativity and the delight of sharing and growing and doing everything together. Work, volunteer work, vacationing, hanging out. The experience of love is just, I can feel the power of that inside of me. I'm very grateful to have experienced that kind of experience of love and all those experiences of love. And so now I turn it over to each of you. How have you experienced love in your life? And maybe you'll need to take these questions into the day or the week. Don't feel pressured. Just take a breath, let it in, send it out, and let's move on to our third reflection. The third reflection is going to take us in a little bit of a different direction. Now I invite you to take another breath. And the question this time, where it begins with, think of a time when you were challenged with this thing called love. What blocked you from having or experiencing love in those times, or one of those times that you felt challenged? Perhaps you might think of a time when you felt blocked or angry or lacking or missing love. Perhaps you felt stifled in a job or a relationship or another situation. How were you challenged and what blocked you? Might be helpful even to close your eyes and take a breath as you let in this place, which is sometimes something we tend to shut off. It's not also without redemption, because my second part of this is what helped you get through that time of challenge to experience more love. So this time I'll begin. Well, these two questions take me very much into my first marriage and an experience of deep chaos and pain and often anger and resistance, seeing the other person as wrong or not hearing or not getting, or couldn't they change? I felt blocked initially by them. If they would only change, my life would have been so much better, was where I was coming from. And a counselor and others began to take me into, so what is it in me that is blocked? And then with the arrival of A Course in Miracles in my life, which helped me to begin to see that, that I had a choice of the thoughts that I wanted to focus on. And that instead of looking at through the eyes of fear and projection onto the other person, onto my wife, that I could begin to see her with love, with the compassion, to open my heart to her as I got out of my own defensiveness and began to hear what she was asking for and needing underneath her fears or anger. And it just opened me up. It opened my heart. It opened my mind. It opened my listening. It opened up my compassion, and it opened up my experience of connection with her. So that even in the midst of arguments or her being angry at me, I could hear a deeper voice in her, and I could feel my compassion and love for her. And that's really what got me through to the healing and eventual leaving of that relationship. And I hold it now, even with a deep love in my heart. Brother Nathen, for you.
Thinking that love is conditional. That I have to meet conditions. If I don't meet the conditions, I won't get the love. And in complete honesty, I have to say that there are still days where I succumb to that misbelief. My batting average is getting better, and I'm able to recognize it sooner. And there are still days, for various reasons, where I succumb to that. So that's a big one. And so that then impacts how I perceive myself, my position in the world, my position in my career. All those things can be impacted by that thinking. And so what helps me with that? Forgiveness. Forgiving myself for forgetting that the truth is that I am one with Source and that my value is constant. It's not dependent on anything I say or do. And getting a chance to, so the work's certainly coming from within, and also thinking about what you were saying about past relationships. I feel blessed beyond measure to now be in a relationship with a woman who does love me unconditionally, and I've never experienced that to this degree. And certainly, it is all about me. I'm the one who has to let the love in, but boy, is it ever powerful, as you say, to have someone model that to me, for me, with me. And the last thing I wanted to mention is something that's been extremely useful and powerful for me is learning the 5 love languages. And I don't know if some people who are listening or watching to this may not know about it. I would like to give you a gentle nudge to check that book out. It's by a man named Dan Chapman, Chapman, 5 Love Languages. Very briefly, they are, in no particular order: physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and receiving gifts. And Dan goes on to say that our job is to learn how to love in all of those ways. And of course, we will probably all tend to favor 1 or 2 or 3 of those. And so it's been very powerful for me to know about those and to realize that sometimes the message of love is not received because it's being sent in a language that works for me but not for the other person, and vice versa. So to know what my love languages are, what other people's love languages are, so that the message reaches the target. It's been very, very powerful.
Ooh. A whole service there, potential. So now I'll turn it over to each of you listening and watching. When were you challenged? And what got you through? Take a breath, reflect, and now let's move on. The next reflection is taking this one but going a little bit further, and it's essentially the question, why is love and loving often so difficult? And what came to me in exploring this with Nathen beforehand was, think of all the times we've heard songs songs like All You Need Is Love. Love is my name, my true identity, my one happiness. We know these things. We've read it in books. We've seen it in movies and on TV. Why is it still so hard after all the lessons we've heard and the wisdom given to us? Why is it still so hard? And why do we still resist it, block each other, protect ourselves, or even attack and hurt each other or ourselves? And what might we do differently? So as we're getting shorter on time, I'll invite you to be brief with this, Nathen, as will I. What are your reflections on this one?
A very, very important decision that I made sometime within the last 10 years of my life was to live with full accountability. And the moment I did so, blame evaporated. And when blame is evaporated, you get to the heart of things much quicker. The second, connected to that, the second idea, a couple that I worked with in New Mexico shared the idea of relationships being either vertical or horizontal. If relationships are vertical, it's because one person needs to be on top. So it's a power struggle. Mm-hmm. And the only way to contradict that is to be horizontal. And the only way to be horizontal is for one person to make the decision to be vulnerable. And once that happens, the other person feels safe enough to be vulnerable in return. All of us are wanting to be open-hearted. All of us are wanting to be vulnerable. And all we need is someone to take that step first. Mm-hmm. Because everybody wants that. Everybody needs that. Mm-hmm. And so I've made a decision in my life to be the one to step into vulnerability as quickly as I can. Because it certainly always works for me. And it always works for the other person. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right on. I guess when I hear you speak, it relates to something that came up for me, is that there is a deep place inside us that does not, inside of me, that does not feel safe and fears for acceptance and worth and love. And that it is definitely, when I come from there and don't recognize it, it stops me from loving or letting love in. And that as I'm able to make the choices that you described, it allows me to open as you described. And so for me, this is really why the spiritual journey is so important, is about teaching us how to expand from that fearful place into that loving place, loving and being loved. So with that, very briefly, why is loving difficult for you, and what might you do differently in the day or the week ahead? Something to consider. The final reflection, I'll simply put it this way. So why love at all? And again, very briefly here, with all the challenges, the hurts, the problems, is it really worth doing it? You know, it is a question. Why try at all? Well, for me, I'd say I have to. I know it is what I most want. It comes from the core of my being, and even when I get it wrong and I'm hurting, I know that I want love. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Brother Nathen for his final reflection. You're on mute, Nathen.
Something I didn't say in my last message, which also ties into this, which needs to be said, is I firmly believe that everybody and everything in my experience is a mirror. So if I have any feelings that come up in me about anyone else, it's because they are here to teach me something about myself. Mm. And that dovetails into your last question, and that the answer is, as I say in the psalm that I'm about to share, love is all there is, ever was, and will be. So that's why. Why try it all? Because it's the only game in town. Back to my first answer. It's why we're here.
Any other reflections, Nathan? Shall I go to completion here? I'll just then go to, whoops, okay. There we go. I think I've been bumped out. So I will simply say, thank you, Nathan, for your reflections here. Thank each of you for going deeper with us this morning. And I'm going to turn it over to Nathan, to his song called To Love.
Thank you, dear brother. What a pleasure to co-create something with you. Thank you.
In this time and in this place is the grace to love. With these hands and with this heart, I can start to love, to love, to love, to love. I've been bruised and I've been burned. Still I yearn to love. So I'll forgive and I'll forget, pay my debt to love, to love, to love, to love. Because love is all there is, ever was and will be. I may fall, to love, to love, to love.
Wow. Words just fail in light of that. Thank you so, so much, Nathen. And thank you both, Eric and Nathen, for this deep, heart-filled sharing, which drew us all in, at least I can speak for myself, drew us all in, and experience of connection and love with you was amazing. So bless you and thank you so much.